Wasn't that a fantastic episode? Now, let's get that conversation started.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning into SCAD TV Fest. I'm Sam Heifel from Entertainment Weekly, and today I'm joined by some of the incredible women behind hit TV shows Grey's Anatomy and Station 19. I'm so excited about this panel because I feel like we have a group of women here who can speak to so many different aspects of the television creation process. Obviously, on the producing side, we have executive producer Krista Vernoff and associate producer Kasha Foster. We have on the directing side and acting side, we have Grey's star Chandra Wilson. And then, of course, we have Station 19 stars Barrett Doss and Jana Lee Ortiz. Thank you all so much for being here. For everyone watching, there will be an audience Q&A at the end of this if you would like to stick around for that. I would actually love to start because so many of the students watching want to get into this industry. And I feel like there's always so much talk of getting your foot in the door, right? That being one of the hardest things to do. And so I would love to go around and actually just kick this off with everyone kind of sharing their experience of their first real gig, how they got their foot in the door, if you will. And so anyone can chime in at any point, but just for the sake of flow, let's start with Krista. Krista, why don't you kick us off?
How did I get my foot in the door? I wrote a bunch of spec scripts, which are sample episodes of existing television shows, although it was 20 something years ago, so those television shows no longer exist. I wrote a Felicity. That was my primary spec, if anybody's wondering. And The Practice, and a whole bunch of half hours. Friends, Mad About You, Just Shoot Me. And then I moved here and, passed my writing samples around to networking breakfasts at Women in Film, and friends who had friends who were assistants in agencies. And I got my first agent, and then my first job was an episode of Law and Order.
Wow.
Like 21, 22 years ago. Yeah.
Chandra, what about you?
Sure. I went to NYU. And so after I did freshman year and was, just student. And then sophomore year, I went away and did summer stock. Does summer stock still exist? I went away. It does. Yeah. Okay, good. I went and I did summer stock, which was amazing. And I came out of that experience with a manager who started sending me out on auditions in New York. So I would just go to each audition and treat it like a rehearsal. Every audition was an opportunity to practice. Maybe 3 months after we started working together, I booked an episode of The Cosby Show. And that's kind of how I took off.
Yeah. Barrett, what about you?
I also come from a theater background. I started taking myself more seriously as an actor when I was in high school, and my mom and I moved. We were, just the two of us. So we moved to New York, and I started auditioning more professionally because I had a great, wonderful acting coach in Chicago, where I was living at the time, who was like, "I think you can do this, but you got to go to New York," because I was really only invested in musical theater. That was my ceiling at the time. I went to NYU also. And then, I was auditioning, but sort of like trying to find my way through whatever I thought this career was going to be. And I ended up understudying my first Broadway show when I was about 25. And that really felt like, oh, I'm starting to sort of figure out how I want to do this and what I want to do. And I was an understudy in an amazing play called You Can't Take It With You. That was revived a couple of years ago, a long time ago now. But and so that really felt to me like grad school. I feel like I absorbed so much information from all the incredible Broadway talent I was working with. James Earl Jones. I mean, it was amazing. And then I finally did my own show. I did Groundhog Day on Broadway. And then right after that, after the show closed, I got a chance to make my way into Shondaland. And so that's kind of where I came from. I just started in theater and hustled. And then suddenly it was like, oh my gosh, this is the next step. I didn't even imagine that this would ever be a part of my life, working in TV. It was not something that I anticipated, and it's been just an incredible gift. But yeah.
Yeah. Jana, what about you?
So I'm from New York, and I studied for 2 years at a Meisner Conservatory. And I thought, I'm going to get some Law and Orders under my belt. I'm going to do some work, then make my way to LA. That never happened. I moved to LA with no representation, no credits on my resume. And I booked this reality show called Scream Queens. It's like America's Next Top Model, but for actresses. And the winner gets the role.
I watched it.
You did? Oh my gosh. So they would put us through acting challenges, and the winner gets a role in the Saw franchise. I was runner up, and that was right before I moved out to LA. So that was kind of like my reel. And out here, I met a manager who was like, oh my gosh, I loved you in Scream Queens. Anyway, he represented me, and I booked my first pilot on Amazon when Amazon just started their content. Mm-hmm. And it was like way in the beginning when people would actually vote and see whether they wanted the pilot to go through and make it to series. And that was Chris Carter's first show after the X-Files, and it didn't go through, but that was my first thing. That was my foot in the door, I guess. And then from there, Rosewood, and then Station 19. So yeah.
Kasha, what about you?
I began as an arts administrator in theater in Minneapolis, and then I did many years in unscripted TV. And I really wanted to move to scripted. I didn't really know how that would happen, but through luck and a personal relationship, I ended up in Krista's office and learned the scripted world and have had a beautiful experience. This has been a wonderful, happy accident.
Well, kind of transitioning from how you all got your foot in the door to kind of what Barrett started to talk about of actually getting into Shondaland, because we have people who have joined various parts of this run. And so I'm going to throw it all the way back to the beginning for a second, which for Krista, what do you remember about launching this show? Did you have any expectations of what it would become?
We really did not have any expectations of what it would become, because my memory is of working really hard with a really talented group of writers, and then leaving season 1. I left a couple episodes before the season was done to make a pilot. And while I was in New York shooting that pilot, I got a phone call from my assistant that we'd been instructed to clean out our offices. So right before the show launched, they kicked us out of the offices. I don't know if it was low expectations that they had, or they had other writers they wanted to put in here, but I was like, oh, this isn't going well. And then it premiered to huge numbers, and then the numbers were way bigger the next week, which almost never happens, and it was a runaway hit, and they gave us our offices back. That's my memory.
Yeah. Well, Chandra, obviously you've been there from the jump, and I feel like I, like a lot of people, have re-watched some of these shows during the past 2 years. And I just remember sitting down and watching that pilot, and I just felt like I was reminded Bailey was it just felt revolutionary to see Bailey, and she was so ambitious and she was so cutthroat. And what was your experience of reading that character and kind of meeting her for the first time?
The breakdown that came was a short white blonde female called the Nazi. So I had no audition for that. But I think it was either my agent or my manager, I can't remember, because I had auditioned for ABC so many times over the years. I got a chance to go in and just go on tape. And I remember thinking that she felt like a teacher to me, or a version of my mom, just kind of strict. And by the time you finish dealing with her, you just want to call her Nazi just because. So it was all about like a teacher mentality that I went into ABC and did my tape audition for. When I got out here to LA, I had kind of like a working session with Peter Horton, who was directing that episode, and Shonda Rhimes and Betsy Beers were in the room. I didn't know what a Shonda Rhimes or a Betsy Beers was or meant. I didn't know. People that were down at the other end of the table. I had no idea. But I knew Peter Horton from 30 something. So I was like, okay, I can talk to this guy, I guess. I guess I need to listen to him. And so he worked with me. I did my studio audition. And then the network audition was after that. And it was me and a short white blonde female. So I said, oh, I'm the one that you bring so that you have somebody to balance the thing off of. You know, you don't... I was like, cool, no problem. I got nothing to lose. And the only note that I got from the studio audition going into the network audition was to make sure I take command of the room. And I thought, wow, that was really interesting. So I clip-clopped my way into the room in my shoes, just making as much noise as I could, and then did my audition. So I had no expectations whatsoever when we started shooting the pilot. We had 15 days. I was doing a show on Broadway. Everybody else had started working together already. The interns at the time, they got together, and I just kind of walked in cold. And my first scene was the I Have 5 Rules scene. And that's how everybody was introduced to me, like, you know, doing that scene. So just as green as I could be coming out here, but I knew where a mark was, and I knew how to memorize lines, and I knew how to perform, and that's all I had. So no expectations for the Untitled Shonda Rhimes project that we were shooting at the time at all. None. We had no name. We had nothing. Yeah.
Well, and then I'm so interested on the flip side of that. Obviously, Jana Barrett, by the time you guys join, Shondaland is an established thing. And Jana, I know specifically for you, you're suddenly in a backdoor pilot, right? Like there's this incredibly successful show, and it's like, okay, we're gonna try to make a new show. Come in. You know, a lot of that is writing on your character. And what was that experience like for you?
Right. Well, just to piggyback off of like Chandra's whole experience, I have to say that you would never guess upon meeting her that she's been on this show for 20, almost 20 now, 20 seasons. She is like, there is no ego. There is just the most like generous, giving, professional. Like I honestly, this whole group right here, like, you have no idea how much I've learned from these group of women. So I just wanted to say that. But yes, upon hearing that news, I was like, Shonda Rhimes has a new show. I didn't even know what it was about. I didn't know the name of it. There was no title. All I knew was that it was about firefighters. And I was like, well, if Shonda Rhimes is having anything, I'm there. Like, I don't care what it is. So yeah, no, also knowing that it rides, you know, it's in the same universe, the same family as Grey's Anatomy. Yes, that's a whole lot of pressure. I had no idea what I was getting myself involved. And now 5 seasons in, I'm like, oh, I get it. And now that Chris is taking charge, I'm like, this is it. It feels good. It feels right.
Well, Barrett, you mentioned you knew what Shondaland was going into it. So what was your experience? Was there a sense of pressure there when you're coming into this?
I mean, I was so excited. I think it was my first time being a series regular. I guest starred, you know, on a couple different TV shows, but knowing that there's this legacy of strong, powerful women of color in powerful positions. Like, that was what, of course, always attracted me to Shondaland in general and made me a fan before I was a part of it. But of course, you want to do the best you can to represent strong and powerful and capable women. And at the same time, also know we're telling human stories. You know, I mean, that's the thing that I love so much about so many of Shonda's shows. And I was a Scandal fan. Like, I watched Scandal obsessively when I was in college at the time. And it was so attractive to me to be a part of that. And of course you feel the pressure, but you also just want to do your job. Like Chandra was saying, like we're actors, we come in, it's our job to, I don't know, serve as sort of the roadmap, you know, for people to have human experiences. And so balancing that, I want to represent something versus we want to do our best to tell a human story. Yeah. It's an interesting balance, but it's one that I feel like we get so many opportunities to I don't know how to finish that sentence. You know what I mean? We get to do that dance.
I just want to jump in and produce for one moment and say, if anybody has their audio on and is typing, we can hear you. Maybe mute yourself if you're typing.
Yeah.
Okay.
I wonder if it's my earrings hitting these headphones.
Earrings hitting the headphones.
Costume change, guys.
Well, Kasha, I want to go to you on the producing side. What is it like to join, you know, such an established universe?
Well, it's funny because, of course, everyone knows about Shonda Rhimes and what her company is and what it's done, and definitely like in front of on the screen. But I was very curious to see, and of course skeptical because that's my nature, to see what it looked like behind the scenes and to come into Grey's and Station and see it's as advertised, like the crew, the executives, it looks like America. It looks like everyone, just like the soundbite, you know, to see so many women, to see people of color in all these positions. It's like magical and exciting and refreshing. And definitely I was happy to see that. And there's a feeling of like, we're all in it together. It feels good, but not in a hokey way. But it feels good around here. It feels nice, and it feels inclusive, and it feels like everyone is participating and kind of moving with the same goal.
Yeah. Well, it's so funny because we talk about like longevity in this industry a lot. And in this industry, I mean, like 3 seasons is a raving success. Like that's an incredible amount of time for an actor to get to play a character, for a writer to get to explore a story. Obviously, Grey's and Station 19, it's so funny. I'm like, Station 19 is basically like what I would consider a very long running show now. And it's just like, and then you've got the Grey's element, and it's pretty insane. And so in terms of you all's experience with living with characters, with creating this story, Krista, I'll start with you of maybe what's the most challenging part of writing a story for so long?
I will say it's easier to write Station than Grey's at this point. For that reason, you'll be like, this is like, I'll pitch something, and I literally, this just happened in the writer's room where I was like, we need to do something about how, you know, hard it is to be in charge and everybody, how hard you have to work. And I pitched this whole thing for Bailey and dialogue. Like I pitched a monologue, and one of the writers was like, we did that season 14. Like, remember Bailey like had a whole breakdown and she wanted to make like they it was the dialogue. I was pitching the same dialogue and I was like, oh my God. It felt new. So it's 18 seasons of, you know, now we've got super fans on the staff. We've got kids, I call them kids, they're in their 20s on this staff who grew up watching the show and have watched it 5 and 10 and 12 times from start to finish. And we rely on them to tell us, did we do this? Did this happen? Like, have we done something like this? And they can answer it like that, which is beautiful.
Yeah.
But that's the hardest part is keeping it fresh and not accidentally recycling stories and themes and dialogue. What's great is medicine keeps reinventing itself. So that is easy to keep fresh, but just to not repeat yourself.
Sure.
I just wanted to jump right in and say, I could tell you what the most challenging part for me is.
Yeah.
Like when I was 20, how old was I? 29 when I booked Station 19. And I was like, yeah, I'm ready. I'm all energetic. I'm going to be a firefighter. Yeah. Now I'm like, oh, my back. How many more takes? I mean, oh man, my knee. So, I mean, physically, it is just a whole new world I've never experienced. And I would also sometimes I would joke about Grey's, like, oh my gosh, it must be it must be like, you know, redundant being in the same hospital setting with the same scrubs. And now I'm like, I want those scrubs. I want those sneakers. I want that comfy outfit, the whole nine. So yeah, I just needed to say that because that's what came to mind about challenges.
Been in a thing for a minute when, you know, everybody comes in theoretically all young and fresh. And then it seems like at the exact same time, these readers start coming into the table read. Everybody's wearing readers trying to get through the scripts. It did. Everybody's readers now. 1.25, 1.5, whatever, you know.
Oh my God.
Well, Chandra, I do want to touch on, I mean, you know, we see it all the time in this industry of an actor moving on from a show because they want to try something new. What is it about this show, this character, that has kept you interested for all this time?
So to start that, there is no right or wrong way to do it. You know what I mean? You know, just have to know yourself as an actor, what it is you're trying to do with your career. And there's no such thing that says, I'm going to start a thing and finish a thing. There's, you know, it's completely up to you, that character's journey, you know, how you're going. There's something about, for me though, starting a thing and finishing a thing that's really exciting, right? So, because I did New York 15 years doing all the stuff, traveling around, doing shows, you know, and I was fine with that. I just thought that's exactly what my career was going to be. So, when I got that pilot, first thing I thought was, I can get out of my credit card debt. Like that, that was... You were talking about ceilings. That was my ceiling. Yay, credit card debt, done. So, but what's interesting about Bailey in particular is that person that you saw in the pilot is who she is now. She shouldn't have been doing any of what she was doing. She shouldn't have been talking to anybody like that. She shouldn't have been walking around. She had a light blue scrubs. Like, she had absolutely no authority. But, you know, this is who I became. So I really love that journey of being able to see someone start there and be where she is now in real time. And we get, you know, the emails that come in and, you know, used to be fan mail saying, you know, I started medical school because I saw your image on television. I didn't think that I could do that. Over and over and over again, and it continues to happen. So I enjoy that. I enjoy putting that out into the world. I know I'm an actor. I know work is going to be there. I know Broadway it's not going anywhere, right? So why not take this journey as far as this journey has to go till the wheel comes off and they go, okay, you forget the parking space. We're taking the sign down. You know, I enjoy that contribution, and I enjoy, because I'm a soap opera, you know, I still watch Young and the Restless and Grey's General Hospital every day. So I appreciate consistency. You can go to television and watch the same things and see the same people. I love that. That's just my character. So there you go.
I think it's so fun too when we get to watch these characters grow and go through all of the stuff that they experience on these shows, and yet when you have the longevity, you also get to see the ways in which we stay the same, right? Like not everybody has to be changed by every single thing that happens to them. So the beauty of like the tease, you know, for Vic is something might totally change the way I might go into it initially thinking this is going to totally change the way she sees the world. And then actually, maybe it doesn't. Maybe there's still that little spark that, you know, I look at Vic as sort of the eternal optimist, and like, that might just be who she is, and that's okay. You know, not everyone has to constantly be growing and changing, because then where does the story go? You know, sometimes you max out and that's as good as you're going to get, you know? So I like the challenge also of that, like that fine line between, not everything has to be life altering. Sometimes big things happen and life goes on. So it's been I think it's like a cool, the experience of getting to play the same character for so long. You kind of you start to collaborate with the writers and talk to, I'll talk to Krista and ask questions about, okay, is this one of those things that's going to change her? Or is this one of those things that she's going to experience. And then we get to watch how she sort of not reverts, there's no negativity in it, but like how she maintains that core of who she is, because all of these people are people who come with all of their history, and we don't know all of it all the time, but it's fun to get that challenge and then watch the writers tease certain things out as time goes on. So I like it. It's a challenge, but it's fun.
Yeah. Well, it also, I feel like, you know, we talk about a lot, like television is one of the most personal mediums in terms of these people are in your home, they're in your living room. We grow so attached to them as an audience. And I think especially, Chandra, what you were saying about inspiring people, when you sit with someone, I mean, I feel like I've known these characters half my life. And it's just like, it's such an incredible experience, which I would love to know, like, what have been some of the most significant, like, fan moments? What are the reactions that you guys get from fans of the show, especially the actors?
We start. Everything always comes from a place of absolute kindness and appreciation. That's what I've, always heard. Women for the most part are like, I enjoy you so much. You do your thing, girl. Men are like, yeah, you play that nurse on that doctor show. Right. You good. You good. But it's like, I appreciate you too. Really do. Because people just, they enjoy being able to escape with us, especially like through the pandemic. We heard that over and over again. I just want to sit down and I just want to veg and I just want to go, not have to think about me and let me just think about you. So it to me, it feels like a service that we get to do, but people are just always, they just want to say, hey, and you're right, because they're looking at you like this. They feel like, oh, that's the one that I get. Do you go to? Do you live right? Because I've been like, so they know they've been in my face somewhere, and I just let them sit there and go, no, that's not. No, because I'm scared to say I'm on a TV. I play great, because then that's the day that somebody will say, oh, I don't watch TV. It's somewhere else. It's somewhere else. So.
I like to think of it as like pure passionate investment. Mm-hmm. Like if you're playing an asshole, people hate you. And that's, they hate your character or whatever. That's a testament to your work, but it's also a testament to, this is what I learned from Krista. She called me one day and was like, your character is being too nice. I don't like likable characters. And I was, at that moment, I was so protective, and I was like sheltering my character so much because I wanted her to be likable. And I found that Krista was like, no, it's way more interesting. And it turns out she was right. But it's so much more interesting to dislike a character for their choices and all the decisions that they make. And like, it really changed my perspective once she was like, no, let's go a different way with changing how, how she would react to certain things, or like, she's not this, she's that. Anyway, but yeah, pure investment is what I'm getting from fans. I feel like, I'm sure you ladies can relate, and then it's so passionate that even like Krista and all the producers sometimes get hit up on social media, like, what are you doing? And even if it's negative, a negative reaction, like, we're doing something good because they're talking about it. Right. So there you go. That's all Krista for you.
That's what I said is Andy can be likable at all times, or she can be iconic, but she can't be both.
I love that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
I love it. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's like, passion is a great word, Jana, for that, because it is, how deeply people are feeling these experiences with you. They're falling in love with you, maybe with you, but also like they're with you when you're having, when your character's having an experience on the show. And and so that's exciting to see, and I always I like it as sort of a social experiment in some way, because I like to see like, what's catching fire? You know, what's like, what do people love and what are they interested in and what are they angry about? And I think it's fascinating as just an observer, because I'm a fan too. Like, I watch the show and I like to, you know, I do my little live tweeting, but I like to watch the show as a fan, not as an actor on the show. You know, I enjoy the process of I have my favorite ships and all that stuff. You know, I have my preferred couplings, and, you know, it's fun to see when people split and I feel something and fans feel something. And I love it objectively. So I think that, you know, as a person who also enjoys being a fan of the show, it's fun to watch how much people embrace us and it, and how excited they get.
Yeah.
I will say, as someone who has watched the show, when I first started, I remember seeing Chandra in like the rehearsal hall getting ready for a table read. And it was the first time I saw her in person. And it was physically painful for me not to greet her like someone I knew, because the character of Bailey and the way that you made it is so clear to me. I'm like, I know this person. And I'm like, Kasha, you 100% do not know this woman, and you were at work. And I didn't have it really with anyone else, but I was just like almost just, even as a Black woman, as a Black person, you want to greet, and I just was like, no, you don't know her, and she's not Miranda Bailey. She's an actor. She's a woman.
Oh, incredible. All right. Well, I want to make sure we have time to get to our audience Q&A. So I'm going to introduce SCAD professor Alpha Tyler, who's going to take it from here. So thank you all so much. And we'll see what the audience has to ask.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you to the incredible women of Grey's Anatomy and Station 19 for joining us at SCAD for TV Fest 2022. I'm Alpha Tyler, Professor of Performing Arts and former casting director for Tyler Perry Studios, and I have 3 amazing students here who have questions for you. So let's start with Sade.
Hello, everybody. I hope everybody's doing well. My name is Sade Etney, and I'm a junior studying film and television. I'm in the process of showrunning a television show pilot that I wrote, and to see that Grey's Anatomy is going on its 18th season is mind-blowing. I'd like to know more about the relationship between the actor and the director when this series has so many different directors. And in particular, can you talk about the experience you have taking a continuous storyline across episodes that have different directors?
From the actor point of view, from us? Yeah, okay, sure. So and ladies, you can attest if you get the same thing as Station 19, but the assumption sometimes that directors make coming into our show is that everybody knows what they're doing. So you don't necessarily have to direct them. So just find out where they want to go, you know, and then put the cameras and then we'll shoot it. But I'd love to say to directors, please tell me what to do. Please help me. Don't stop telling me what to do. Don't assume that I know everything. I want to hear, you know, what you got to put in here so we can play. Because I love to play and to change it up a little bit and to, you know, and then we end up discovering something and finding something in a really short period of time. So, you know, going across the episodes as far as like the continuity of story. I know sometimes I'll go in if I know that Bailey has said something before, Bailey has been in a certain situation before, I will say to the director, this is kind of the 3rd time I've been in this place, so my attack may be a little different than what you thought. Or the writers will chime in and say, oh yeah, we've had this moment, so cool, let's play it this way. So I think the whole point is to be able to collaborate so that, you know, sometimes you're thinking, I walk into scenes all the time thinking that it's a certain way, and then the director will have something else in mind, and I'll say, oh, I never even thought of it like that. Okay, so let's go play with that. Because, you know, none of it is set in stone. So we get to play. You guys feel the same way?
Totally. I think that, I mean, I tell every director, we're lucky enough now to get to do these like little Zoom meetings with directors before we start working with them, especially if they're new. And it's so much, I always tell them, every single director, say, I love being directed. Please, I actually genuinely love being an actor, and I like someone watching me and being able to see what I can't see, from the outside. So I welcome it. I love it. And it's so funny you said that, Chandra. That's the first thing that popped into my mind. It's like when sometimes I think in that same likability, the likability issue of characters, sometimes you want to protect your person. And so you get a little scared to step outside. And if we all are doing that, if we're left up to our own devices, we might all be protecting ourselves too much. And so it's nice to have people there to remind us it's okay to be the bad guy in this scene. It doesn't mean you're always going to be, but this might be your time to say the wrong thing, and to help us understand that it's okay to embrace that. So yeah, I feel like I always love being directed, and I love when we have directors that come in with strong ideas. They have done their homework and know where our characters are at and where we're coming from. And I mean, I love it. So it's always nice to have an open dialogue.
Oh, same. I love having a different director for every episode. Not only does it keep it fresh and new and spontaneous, but I feel like it's a different color every episode. It's just a whole different vibe. And like you ladies were saying, when a director comes in with a specific plan, but also allows us some creative freedom to make our own choices, it's such a beautiful collaboration. And then it's not stale. It doesn't get stale. It becomes more exciting, with the next director in the next episode. So yeah, I love that experience.
All right, excellent. Thank you, Sade, for your question. Up next, Tamanda.
Hi, my name is Tamanda Kadire. I'm a senior performing arts major. My question is for the actors. Outside of preparation and memorization, is there an invaluable technique or an approach that you've developed in how you portray these characters?
Good question.
That's a good question.
Yeah, it's, I mean, I think there's an element of I like to use some of my technique. I went to theater school. I like coming from a theater background is actually, I find, pretty invaluable on TV, because you feel that, not only do I get the rush of getting to perform in those moments, but also I think the flexibility and the feeling of, when you're on stage, it's a new show every night. And so I like to go into every take saying it's a new, this is a new show right now. This scene is a new scene. I've never done this before. So in that sense, I feel like there's a little bit of technique that comes into that. And I think that that's kind of the thing that I love the most about TV is we get so many opportunities, and I love doing multiple takes. I'll be the person who's can we do 2 or 3 in a row, just so you get that rhythm that, and so I bring a lot of my theater stuff to my TV stuff, which is, I think, what do you think, Chandra?
And Krista, you'll correct me if I'm wrong or if what I'm saying makes absolutely no sense. But in all of these years, believe it or not, I still to this day don't feel like I own Miranda Bailey. And what I mean is I don't say things like, I would never say that, or I would never do that, or I would never go there, because she's not me. So I don't get to say that, right? So every table read that comes out and I go, oh, okay, she's gonna say it like that, right? And then, Chris, we've had conversations where it's been, why are you going in this direction instead of this direction? And I'll always say, oh, because of this, right? In order to justify. But if she's not on board, she'll say, like what you were talking about, Jana, no, go this way with it. Let's go this way. And that's fine, because I don't own her. And that's the freeing thing for me as an actor playing this character. I don't own her. She gets to be as messy and as cute and as whatever as she's going to be. And it's not me. It's not my fault. I didn't do it. It's her. She said it. She did it.
I will say that is Chandra. I wrote a speech for Chandra in this episode that we just did a table read of today. And I was like, any other actress, I'd get a phone call. Like, what is this? What is this? But Chandra will dig in and find the truth in it. And that's why Bailey is so fresh 18 years later. She just goes, ooh, how am I going to make this true? Even though it's sometimes a bold swing.
Yeah. But I bring your thing to life, whatever that is. As I mean, it's got to be something huge in the contradiction area, right? For me to go, I'm not sure, but and that's what human beings are. How many times have you been in a situation where you've been, okay, so-and-so was all out of character today? Because we do that. Sometimes we are just out of character today. And we have to fix it later. And that part of humanity is the fun part for actors.
Wonderful. Excellent question, Tamanda. Thank you.
Thank you.
And last but not least, Elise.
Hi, I'm Elise Landry. I am a film and television major with a concentration in producing at SCAD. So this question is a little more for the producers, the writers. So as Grey's Anatomy has been on for many, many years, since like 2005. And I was wondering, since the industry is moving in towards like a streaming service and more like mobile, you guys started off more as of like on demand and like on air and stuff like that. So I was wondering, what has changed with the production and pre-production with the show that's been running as long as Grey's Anatomy through like, since it's been like.
The only thing that's changed is that it's when people are, nothing has changed in terms of how we produce the show or how long we have to produce the show. We're still airing on ABC on network television, but we're also streaming on Hulu and streaming on Netflix. And I think we were streaming on Lifetime. So what's harder on writers is that people binge watch a whole bunch of episodes in a row. You used to have to wait a week, believe it or not, kids. You used to have to wait a week to see another episode of Grey's Anatomy. And now you watch it all in a row. And I tried that, watching a few in a row, and I was like, oh God, it changes how you write the show. When you used to write it thinking that they're not going to see another one for a week, you would have to kind of recap in dialogue often what happened last week to help people remember. And now it's switched a little bit in our minds. We know that people are watching mostly multiple episodes in a row, so we don't have to do as much reminding of what happened last week in the dialogue, but we produce it the same.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sade, Tamanda, and Elise. And thank you to the women of Grey's Anatomy and Station 19. And to all of you at home, you've been a wonderful virtual audience. Stay right here for more SCAD TV Fest.